Chew. Hello, hello, hello. Can you all hear me, ladies and gentlemen? Let's get a little test over here. Hello, hello. Alright, I can hear myself. That means you can hear me. Therefore, I can hear me hearing you hearing me. How about that? The only way to live in the newscast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a newscast. This is not a particular special episode of the newscast or anything like that. It's more of a new project within the newscast, something I've been kind of contemplating to do for quite some time. We're calling this new series Shooting the Shit. Shooting the Shit basically is going to be a Q&A centric episodes to where you, the people in the chat room, can ask me any and all wrestling related questions in the chat room. And basically, you guys are dictating how we go about this whole episode, let alone this entire series. These Q&As can end in like 30 minutes, an hour, maybe even 2 hours. But the point of it all is to basically interact with all of you in the chat and answer any questions that you may have. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions to ask me on this particular day. I understand today is SummerSlam. I am aware of that. So we won't be here for too long if you do want to watch that, I guess. To be honest, I'm probably going to watch it too, only out of curiosity, but nothing really spectacular for me to watch. But be that as that may, let's get into it. So if you have any questions, now again, these are going to be particularly wrestling-related questions on the Shootin' the Shit series, okay? So no off-topic questions, because I won't answer them. Just ask questions about wrestling from the past, present, future, from any company that you think I may watch, or any wrestler that you think I maybe are interested in, and I'll answer to the best of my knowledge and the best of my abilities. These episodes won't always be every week like the newscasts aren't always every week, but essentially, they're for you, basically. So, there's no planning, I didn't have any articles pulled up, none of that, no pre-production, pre-planning, like I usually would do for the newscast. This is basically me winging it with all of you guys about any questions in the wrestling world today. So, with that being said, let's get to it. So, go ahead and post all your questions and comments, as much as you would like to post on the chat room, and I will just start answering them, and we will keep this up until you guys have no more questions to possibly answer. So, let's get to it. All right. Let's see. Aris Williams, thoughts on Punk? Well, that is the major wrestling story of today, as it was last night, as it has been this entire week. To be honest, I was a little late here on the newscast here today because I cannot stop watching that video. Literally, all I've been watching last night, I couldn't even sleep for a second day in a row normally. All I could do was watch that reaction, that video of him coming out, and then what I was doing, because I like just doing these kind of things, I was watching the people that took the videos and pictures at the show, and I was even watching live reactions of people that were watching it at home. That's how much I was invested in it. Here's the thing. Here are my thoughts. This might take a minute because obviously this is very important. CM Punk, after 7 years of not being a part of pro wrestling in a regular basis, is back. Let me not mince words whatsoever. That is huge. That is truly a big moment. Not just for me as a fan, not probably even just for him as a wrestler, but for the entire industry that he's a part of. I will say this. I could be lying, I could be off base, but that may be one of the biggest pops, let alone the biggest reactions, the biggest returns I have ever seen in my life. I'm not talking about the past 2 years or the past decade, of all time. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen wrestling fans gravitate to a wrestler with that type of magnitude, especially in 2021. All week, and quite frankly for the past couple of months, if we're going to be honest, but this week in particular, CM Punk was trending every day on Twitter and Instagram. And, you know, there were the reports that CM Punk was looking to come back into wrestling, and we were all speculating that maybe it might be AEW, but it might even be WWE. And recently, as we got closer to last night, there were a lot of contrarians and a lot of drones and a lot of just the absolute miserable people that you will ever meet in your entire life trying to wish this to not happen. Oh, CM Punk's trolling. Oh, AEW isn't big enough for CM Punk's return. Oh, he's going to actually go back to SummerSlam or SmackDown or the WWE period. Oh, MJF's going to just use his music to get cheap heel heat, as if MJF fucking needs it. I heard some of the most ridiculous, atrocious, disingenuous takes about this whole situation that even I sit back there and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with wrestling fans? I saw people fantasy book like they were on Reddit and they were using their EWR save to make this more complicated than it needs to be. And hell, even I was wrong. Even I was wrong in the way I thought they would go about it. Because my take on it was that I thought they would say Punk till the end. Because my assumption was that the crowd, the AEW crowd, which is very key, not just a typical wrestling crowd, but the AEW crowd knew he would be there and would hold on for 45 minutes because they knew they would get what they want in the end. I assumed that was going to be the case. But after watching the way they went about it, after the way it happened, I am so glad I was wrong. They had to start it off. They had to start off Rampage with CM Punk's return. And I'm a bit of a fool to think that any other scenario would have been better. They got it right, and I got it wrong. And a lot of us got it wrong, because I was smoothing around the Twitterverse and the internet. A lot of y'all were fucking wrong, and rightfully so. And trust me, there will be some receipts to be dunked on later on in this episode, but I want to just go back to the whole thing. Because I'm the type of guy, if you notice with ACW and a lot of things that you may know about me, I'm the type of guy that likes to get into the little things. I like to be intricate about what I'm watching and what I'm seeing and what I'm doing. When Cult of Personality hit in the speakers, the crowd popped enormous. It was one of those pops you don't get in professional wrestling these days that are organic at such big event with a big crowd like the United Center in Chicago. So when Cult of Personality came out and they blared through the speakers, that was loud. That was a loud ovation. No piped-in chants, no manufacturing the crowd noise. That was a genuine pop. But what even surprised me more was when Punk came out, the decibel got even higher. And I did not even think for 1 second it could get even to a higher level. Because it was already high. It was already high when Cult of Personality came on. But I think the reason why it was a little bit higher was because people were still a little bit doubtful that maybe Punk isn't going to come, or some really did buy that MJF was going to troll the Chicago crowd and CM Punk was trolling all of us yet again. So maybe that's why. But when Punk came out, it felt like everyone could just breathe a sigh of relief. And that, wow, he's back. CM Punk is back in wrestling. And it's crazy to me. I don't know what to tell you guys about the feeling. I don't know what to tell you how everybody thought at the time. all I can do is tell you what I thought. And what I thought of the whole thing was, this is a moment in pro wrestling that we're going to remember for a lot well into our years in the future, right? It's not lost on me what that moment meant. And I have to say, you can tell he was happy. Listen, I've been following CM Punk since back all the way to the days of Ring of Honor when he had his classic feud with Raven. And then him with Julio Dinero came to TNA within the Gathering and joined Raven only to turn on them. I was there for Punk that early. I followed that man for about 2 decades. I followed him for 2 decades now. And when he first left WWE, when he left wrestling, and he wanted nothing to do with wrestling, I can't lie, it hurt me a little bit. And that's not even to excuse the fact that Punk did a lot of things that put him in predicaments that where it was justified or he deserved it. He wasn't innocent throughout his absence of wrestling. But I watched the man come out there last night, and I'm thinking, this man looks refreshed. This man looks full. This man looks happy. He looks to be at peace. Not just even physically. I'm talking mentally. I'm talking spiritually. Him coming out to that stage, kneeling on that stage, and just soaking in the adulation. That's pro wrestling, man. That is pro wrestling 101. When you can get emotionally invested into a moment, into a match, into an individual. That's when pro wrestling is at its best. Kudos to Chicago. They obviously are a wrestling town, a wrestling city, a wrestling crowd, whatever you want to call them. They definitely made that man feel like he was the prodigal son coming home to his city, coming home to wrestling. And for the fact that AEW was able to book the United Center seemingly in short notice and get almost 15,000, 15,000, excuse me. Let me calm down there. 15,000 people in that building to witness that moment. It just goes to show you that right now all we're talking about is CM Punk on the day of SummerSlam. I put out a tweet a little bit earlier before I started this newscast about how, with the exception of John Cena, because he is the big star of that show tonight, nobody's really talking about SummerSlam. They acknowledge that SummerSlam is out there. They acknowledge that SummerSlam is going to be a thing tonight. But there's really no actual genuine buzz for the show overall. All I keep seeing and all I keep hearing about, and rightfully so, was CM Punk. Because him coming back after 7 years of absence means so much more than another run-of-the-mill SummerSlam where you probably know where things are going to go, depending on how the finishes go with particular matches. Him coming down to the ring, him hugging fans, mosh pitting and jumping into the crowd. Fans are crying in the crowd. And let me say something about that real quick, because I saw a lot of people, shit on the person that was crying in the crowd when Punk came out. Dude, listen, we're all guilty one way or another of making jokes or laughing about people that take wrestling seriously. I mean, it's still real to me, damn it. That's how the whole meme worked. But we're all guilty of it here from time to time. But when something of this magnitude happens that you never thought would be possible actually happens, it's okay to feel emotional because you were engaged. You were connected. You felt something. And as pro wrestling fans, isn't that the damn point? Isn't that the point? If you're a sports fan and you saw your sports team win the Super Bowl, or win the finals, or win the World Series, How is that any different than the fan in that crowd crying that he saw, arguably, maybe, assumingly, his favorite wrestler of all time come back when he thought all hope was lost? How are we making fun of that? How are people shaming that dude for feeling a certain type of way because he was emotionally invested and he finally got the reward he was asking for? It's only the miserable people on this planet. It's only the miserable type of people that hate to see people happy, that hate to see people fulfilled, that hate to see people not want to succeed. Those are the type of people that you've got to deal with every single day of your life, wherever you go, however you do so. There are just certain people on this earth, and this does relate to CM Punk too, by the way, not just the fan, and probably to you listening, me, myself, others that I know. There are people out there that simply just will not like you no matter what you do. They just may not like you for the mere fact that you exist. And there's no saving people like that because they're far gone. All you can do is wish for those people to maybe one day see the light, and you keep about your business. You think CM Punk hasn't been hearing all the people that gave him shit for 7 years? The fights he lost in the UFC, him doing comics nobody was reading, him doing all these things that nobody was biting for. You don't think CM Punk was hearing that either? And he even addressed it in the promo, which I'll get to in a second, but wrestling fans are the only type of people that want to ruin great moments like this for other wrestling fans. Just shut the fuck up and let the moment speak for itself. If you're not a fan of CM Punk, fine. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. But there are other people that feel something different than you, and that's okay too. I want to also say, kudos to the commentary team of Excalibur, Taz, Jim Ross, and Mark Henry. I thought they were phenomenal in the way they sold that moment as well. They let the moment speak for itself. They let the crowd tell you what this moment means. They let the viewer know how important or big of a deal this is. Why? Because this company, like it always does for the most part, does not insult your intelligence. They treat you with respect. I know, a novel concept in 2021, but they really do that. And they trusted the fact that if they just completely followed with them, if they completely understood that they will get to that destination, and the destination sometimes may not always be great. The destination may not always be something you're favorite of, that you favor or that you're a fan of, but we'll get there. And when you finally got there, the reward was all the much better for it. And Excalibur, Taz, Ross, Mark Henry, they let that crowd sing the tune of that moment, and I'm glad they did. And even when they did speak, they didn't even speak enough to take away from that moment. Excalibur said what he needed to say. You've waited 7 years. You just need to wait 90 more seconds after the break and you'll hear Punk speak. Brilliant. Kept the crowd in there. JR, I know that man JR has said a lot of things, and he has made a lot of mishaps and slip-ups that I've also took him to task for. But he was phenomenal tonight. When he said this shit felt like Jordan in the 90s, he wasn't fucking lying. It's the United Center. CM Punk coming home at the United Center felt like Jordan during the Bulls run in the 90s. It's not like they were lying to you. Taz saying he's got goosebumps. Mark Henry, when he saw the crying fan, was like, oh shit. This felt genuine. This felt real. And in an era of wrestling prior to all this, where we want to complain about wrestling not being real, or doesn't feel genuine, or doesn't feel to where you have an emotional investment, you get this moment and you feel the energy blaring through your television or through your phone or through your laptop. And I can't even imagine what people felt there live. I can only imagine the feeling, the fulfillment they got there live. This is one of the greatest returns of all time. To me, this is the greatest AEW moment of all time. Some will debate otherwise. I do think this is the moment where AEW has drawn the line. I appreciate Jericho for making that jump as the first major star in 2019. I appreciate Jon Moxley for the one being the guy that jumped to AEW when he was still hot as Dean Ambrose. I appreciate the Stings and Christian Cages coming in as legends and respected legends at that to give AEW more notoriety. But this moment here, this is the one, right here, where people will look back and say, this is where AEW shifted the tide. And it may not be for tomorrow that you'll see that result. It may not be the next week, the next year. But this is where it starts. As it says in the title, there is no going back. We are in the new era of professional wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. No more of these talks of, well, I think, I could see 3 to 5 years wrestling going to another new era, or, maybe if we can stick a little bit longer, there'll be... No. Those talks are done. You are living that new era right now. As I've said for months, as I've said for years, this is a new era in professional wrestling. As I said on my previous Twitter account before that guy yeeted off here, I said there were two philosophies battling for the soul of wrestling heading into this next decade. I said that. And people can quote me for that. It is collaboration versus monopolization. Certain fans at a company have chosen their side. Other companies and other fans have chosen theirs. And it's now going to be the matter of what are we going to see by the end of this decade. I can't even imagine that somebody like me who wanted to basically bow out from wrestling at the beginnings of 2019, because I thought, American wrestling sucks, WWE sucks, Impact's losing interest from me, Ring of Honor is basically a non-existing factor. I don't even think MLW was on at the time. NWA I don't think was on there at the time. I just had it. I was ready to be like, you know what? With exception to wrestling like Noah and New Japan, I'm pretty much done with wrestling. I think wrestling has passed me by. And then here comes AEW, and now here I am in 2021 of August, proud to be a wrestling fan. It's exciting. It feels great. And then we get to the promo. I haven't even talked about the promo. This is, and let me say this right now, as the man that has seen Punk for 2 decades personally, this is one of his best promos of all time. It's right up there with the pipe bomb. It's right up there with his promo on the Go Home Before Money in the Bank. Okay? It's right up there with the Snake and Old Man story. It's right up there. And again, going back, watching that promo, listening to Punk. I know there's a lot of people that think Punk may not be fully invested into this company. I don't buy it. Watch this promo and then go watch the media scrum that he and Tony Khan did after the show that was posted earlier today. Punk looks refreshed. He looks like he is ready to go back into a business that passed him by for 7 years. It's a different industry now than when he was there in 2014 with WWE. CM Punk letting the crowd speak, saying that I hear you and I feel you, Chicago. And I'm not going to lie, there were so many emotions coming in for me when I was watching this. But when he said, as the crowd for numerous times during this whole thing chanted CM Punk, he said, that's what I heard for 7 years. I heard you. And that's when I was like, dude, that's when I could feel the waterworks starting to kind of come out of my eyes. Because it's like, I know Punk does not hate wrestling. I know for the past 7 years it may seem like Punk hated wrestling and everything that it did to him to get to him to this point. But I know, like, deep down, he really doesn't hate it. He just hates the way people abused it. And that's exactly what he basically said last night. Punk comes out here. He says that he's got the time. He's officially with All Elite Wrestling. He talks about how he left Ring of Honor and left pro wrestling in 2005, and now he is back in pro wrestling, completely burying the WWE in that regard. And quite frankly, and maybe Punk will get to it maybe at some points as the weeks and days go by, I thought Punk was a little too nice. Punk's the one guy, maybe other than Moxley, but Punk's the one actual guy that has every right to shit on this company. A company that devalued him, a company that didn't look at him as any type of superstar when he was getting superstar reactions and superstar metrics, and didn't put him in positions to succeed compared to the John Cena's, compared to the Roman Reigns, if you will. That was them. And Punk tried. And they had something. And then they let the lightning out the bottle. To the point where Punk lost interest. He didn't care about the thing that he once loved. He became physically, mentally, emotionally sick. He's the one guy that deserves to shit on that company, especially now. I saw a lot of people clutching their pearls and trying to concern troll about Punk's comments about WWE. Same company that fired him on his wedding day. Somebody want to explain to me that? Somebody want to defend that to me? You don't give any indication that he was going to be fired or let go until his wedding day. That's what you did to him. Then you try to zap out all of his money from the trial against Dr. Amon and the doctors and his well-being that he won anyways. Same guy that you tried to shit on all these years and even including today. I wouldn't be surprised if I hear some on SummerSlam tonight. You tried everything possible to undermine the man's worth and position in your company and in this industry. And it didn't work. Last night was the aberration. Last night was the response to all the people that tried to throw him away. CM Punk said he's coming back for the young talent. He's coming back to settle scores. Called Darby Allin by name. Challenged him to a wrestling match at All Out in September in Chicago. And I can only imagine what Darby Allin feels in the fact that he's going to be the guy that gets CM Punk's return match after 7 years. That match should close the show, by the way. Absolutely. I'm one of those guys that are old school in the sense that the world title should always close the show because that's the most important thing in your company, unless there are exceptions to where that does not need to be the case. This is one of those times. Punk and Darby need to main event All Out in Chicago. Period. I will hear no other discussions. I will hear no arguments otherwise. But I told you I was going to kind of go in depth about it, but my thoughts on Punk basically were I'm glad he's back. More importantly, I'm glad that he's happy. I saw that he gave people free ice cream bars at the United Center. The Pro Wrestling Tees and Shop AEW websites went down all night because people were trying to buy the new CM Punk shirt, which looks dope. I tried to buy the shirt myself, and it was shut down. I think there's still some issues with those sites as we speak right now. This was the equivalent of Michael Jordan coming back to the Bulls after taking that year off to do Space Jam and baseball and all that stuff. This is the equivalent to Michael Jordan in that regard. I thought this was one of the best returns of all time in wrestling. This industry will be changed forever. Like I said, this is a new era. There is no going back to the old ways of wrestling and who dictated such old ways. The 2-decade monopoly or stronghold of the Fed of the WWE is over. If you haven't noticed it already, it's officially like it's like It's done. We're no longer in that era now. For 2 decades, the WWE had a virtual monopoly in wrestling. Other companies tried to fight it and failed, either by WWE or their own faults. But now, 2021, as we enter a new decade, I can see it. You can feel it. The tides are beginning to change. The tides are beginning to shift. I don't know how clear I need to be with people that still want to argue and be stupid about false arguments and bad faith takes and contrarian arguments as if they're smarter than everybody in the room when they're really the dumbest. I got no time for those people anymore. Where y'all at? Y'all swore up and down like Punk wasn't going to show up. Y'all swore Punk wasn't showing up last night. You told me on my Twitter. You tried to put up all the fantasy booking in the world. You tried to say Punk wasn't going to be there and it's going to be hilarious because it'll mean AEW will fail. Where y'all at? Not a peep. Not even a cricket last night from those people that swore that people are just being too happy, too emotional that Punk was going to be at AEW Rampage. Because all that they've been fed has been misery from a company that doesn't even like them, that doesn't even like professional wrestling. So they're used to being the fact that they're miserable and they expect it because they live in this Stanford syndrome that they have to like what their abuser gives them. And then a company tells you, no, we actually respect you and we understand, let's just give you what you want because we know that's what you want. And people that are that miserable can't comprehend that. So they tried to shit on those fans. They tried to shit on those people that wanted to be happy, that wanted to like something, that wanted to get back into professional wrestling. And make no mistake about it, Punk returning last night has brought a lot of people back. I saw it. I saw it. I'm a part of non-wrestling circles. I perused around non-wrestling circles that were talking about this. Happily, by the way. They probably never even heard of an AEW like that. Now they have. All these idiots I want to talk about, well, the casuals don't know who CM Punk is. Well, CM Punk didn't draw like that with casuals. It's the #1 trending video right now on YouTube. I saw it. At some point, these people gotta be dragged to the dog shed like Old Yeller and pop them in the head. These people are not wrestling fans. This ain't a new take from me. Because I've been telling you what these type of people are for many, many years here on the Newscast. But people swore their bank accounts. They swore their wrestling fandom. They swore everything that they love or hate. That Punk wasn't going to show up at Rampage and AEW was going to fail. And that AEW was going to lose the goodwill of the fans. And when he popped off, it was dead silence. It was quiet. Now the new game is that Punk didn't really have a good debut. They can never admit that when they're wrong. They can never admit when they were not correct. They shift the goalposts because that's what drones do. They have no feelings. Drones are like robots. They have no feelings. They have no way to really get into emotional investments. They are only to be doing what they are told. People are going to make fun of that fan for crying that CM Punk came back. How many of those people, those same people were crying when Edge came back 2 years ago at the Rumble? Same people that cried when Edge won the Rumble this year. It's pro wrestling. It is athletic Shakespearean soap opera. No shit emotions will get from people that love this stuff. It's nothing new. It's nothing shocking. People are allowed to feel because that's what they do. From this point forward, anyone that told you, that tried to gaslight you, that Punk wasn't going to be there, and did it disingenuously, don't listen to those people ever again, even if you never were in the first place like I was. But tonight, and last night, it should be the proof once and for all that these people are miserable. They are not wrestling fans. They are just people that want to see others suffer because they cannot compete with people that are the opposite of misery. They can't do it. So they got to drag them below their level. Hell, I couldn't even get emotional with Edge coming back 2 years ago at the Rumble. It was the same day that Kobe died. So I couldn't even get emotional with Edge coming back like that. And even I recognized it was a big moment. You people are miserable. All I do is block you people. I used to be one of those people that give you the benefit of the doubt and just ignore you and just kind of show you why you might be wrong. I have no use for you people anymore. I'm tired of you people. I'm blocking you guys on sight. You guys are a waste of energy and a waste of space to me at this point. I have no shame at all in the fact that CM Punk is back, and I am damn happy about that. I've criticized the man in the past, and rightfully so. And if Punk does things that I don't like, I will criticize him again. But on that night, last night, for that moment, I was happy to see him back. And I'm glad that he's back in wrestling. I'm glad he chose All Elite Wrestling. I'm glad he is fulfilled and wanted to help. Because that's what it's all about. You know me, when I get on a tirade, you know, there's no stopping me or anything like that. Yeah, I know you guys posted all your questions. If you guys have any other questions you'd like to post in the chat. Let me take a little swig of water so I can recuperate myself. Almost had my head explode. Jesus Christ. Fam. Cold water. Greatest drink in the world. Can't be beat. At all. Whew. Alright. Anyways, chat. If you guys have any other questions you want to post in the chat, go ahead and post them and I will answer them. Let's see here. That needed to be said. There was no amount of Twitter that I could do that was going to justify that. Because it's just, you get tired of people being miserable and you just don't want to deal with it anymore, you know? But anyways, if you guys have any wrestling-related questions, I'm only answering wrestling-related questions on this episode, then go ahead and post them on the chat and I will answer them. I know SummerSlam's coming up. I mean, what is it? Is it 5 p.m.? Is that what's happening here? Like 5 p.m. Pacific? I don't know. Probably gonna be a 4-hour show. Let's see here. Jacob Baker, what's your reaction to Christian winning the Impact title and then retiring the TNA title on an episode of Impact? Look, I've made my thoughts clear about Kenny versus Christian Cage for All Out for the AEW World title. I understand that Hangman couldn't be that guy to do it at All Out because his wife is about to go into labor and give birth, so that's way more important. I understand it. That's why I kind of accepted this. But that doesn't mean I'm necessarily engaged in it. I just don't think Christian, in terms of a world title match on pay-per-view, is a guy that should main event it. Now, I don't think, especially now with CM Punk in AEW, I don't think that title match is going to main event Chicago, or at least it better not. But I will say, last week at Rampage with Kenny and Christian, that was a good match. A really good match. It felt like they could even excel it, come All Out, so they were kind of holding things back. But I thought for what it was a good match. And Christian winning the Impact title. Look, I know people are mad that Kenny lost. I mean, but to be fair, I get it. You wanted Hangman to be the first guy to beat Kenny's undefeated streak, but it now adds. I can't even say that because everybody knows Kenny's not losing the AEW title at All Out. But I do have my issues with it. But at the same time, for the moment, for what it was for Christian and how much Christian Cage meant to the former TNA, now Impact Wrestling, I didn't hate it as much as I may have thought I would have. But I mean, who knows at the end of the day. Him retiring the TNA title, it's fine. It wasn't even really a sanctioned title until Moose brought it back, and now that Moose is basically on the back burner for no reason, it's probably a good time to retire that title once again for good. But Christian as Impact World Champion, I, for the moment, don't have a problem with it because he has ties to Impact Wrestling. I heard he had a really good match with Brian Myers, even though I don't understand why Myers got the title shot like that, but whatever. He'll do fine with the Impact title for as long as he'll hold it, and he has a lot of good talent on Impact to work with, so I'm confident. I'm really confident in Christian's abilities for Impact as the Impact World Champion. Kaijira the Conqueror. That's a pretty dope name. Did you see WWE post those old Punk matches with him in unflattering thumbnails? I sure did. It's just simple, petty WWE 101. If you know and study the history of WWE, you know that this is not new. It's nothing to be shocked or surprised about. They do this all the time. You know. I mean, this is the what was it? It's the same company that showed like clips of Kurt Angle losing when he made the jump to TNA a decade and a half ago. So the company's petty. I mean, when you're a mediocre company that has no incentive to improve or change what you do because either you don't feel you need to and or the fans will just accept whatever bile that you feed them, you feel like you can do whatever you want. So I'm not surprised whatsoever that they would try to, undermine Punk's day in that way. That's what they do. Never mind the fact it's the same company that made Punk sick of wrestling in the first place. Now you want to post all these full matches of CM Punk with thumbnails that made him look like a geek. It's like, those tactics might have worked in 1997 or even 2007. In 2021, people are too smart. People know better with these kind of things. So all you do is make yourself look bad at the end of the day. Record profits be damned, but you end up looking bad in the process. So Hunter Banks, what are some matches with wrestlers you want CM Punk to face? It's a good question. And I know that there are the obvious answers, but I think there are also some not obvious answers with that question as well. So, CM Punk and Darby Allin's happening at All Out, which was one of my matches I would have liked to see. But after that, what do you do with Punk is the question. So, some matches I would like to see personally would be, I think, him. I mean, the obvious would be him and MJF for a lot of reasons. Him and Jon Moxley. Because let's be honest, Punk and Moxley never had a proper feud, even in WWE. I mean, they had that one house show match in FCW that everyone's seen online when Punk was world champion, WWE champion, and Moxley had his Mox gear as Dean Ambrose. But other than that, they've never had a proper feud. So I would like to see a Moxley-Punk feud in that regard. I would also like to see CM Punk and Ricky Starks. I think that's another one that could really work out very well for Punk, and especially for Ricky Starks, because he's getting better and better by the week, if he hasn't already. So I would like to see Starks in there. Kenny Omega, that's clearly the obvious dream match if they want to go down that best in the world title feud. Will Hobbs. I know that Hobbs was mentioned as one of Punk's people that he would like to work with in the future. So I would actually like to see Will Hobbs get a shot in that regard. So yeah, there's a lot of matches. Malachi Black. If they keep Malachi Black in this way with this character in AEW, I would like to see Punk dive into that in the near future. Punk versus Cody, that would have some interesting undertones as well, especially if Cody became the heel executive vice president. That could really do some good business, in my opinion. So there's some matches that I have interest in AEW. If you want to even talk about outside of AEW, obviously you got Kenta. That's been brewing for years too, anyway. So you might as well. You've got the Forbidden Door. There's really no point in not doing it. Punk and Naito, for me personally, I think those two would mesh very well. Punk and Suzuki, that's another one. So yeah, there's a lot of options that Punk can really take in terms of who he wants to face and who he wants to wrestle in AEW and outside of AEW. I don't know if a lot of you people watched or even listened to the media scrub that Punk and Tony Khan did earlier today. I didn't get to watch the full thing, but I heard some of it. Even though Punk is really into the fact that he may want to do some work with people outside of AEW, he also did say that that'll be up to Tony Khan and they'll talk about it. And for right now, he wants to really kind of dab into the AEW pool at the moment. So, I understand that. He just came back. You can't be just forcing all these possible scenarios and matches to him all at once. You got to kind of let things ebb and flow. So, we'll see on that. Let's see here. Any more questions here? R.S. Williams, thoughts on those assholes who threw Triple H under? I don't know what you mean throw him under. I mean, people are giving Hunter a lot of sympathy because NXT's about to basically be in the mud after TakeOver on Sunday. Quite frankly, I don't see where the sympathy lies. People forget Triple H, Hunter, if you will, was a part of a lot of reasons why CM Punk left there in the first place. Before he co-opted the NXT brand to rehabilitate his image with the quote-unquote smart marks, Triple H had no problem burying people that he thought would be a threat to his spot. And Punk was one of those people. The summer of Punk in 2011 was the hottest thing in wrestling. And here's Triple H getting his big nose involved. And here's Kevin Nash. And here's John Laurinaitis. And by the time Punk won the title again, it was too late. The damage already been done from the story. So I don't see why people give Hunter all this sympathy because, Vince and Nick Khan and John Laurinaitis and Bruce Pritchard and Kevin Dunn are being mean to him and they're taking away his toys. Like, come on. Triple H used the NXT brand to co-opt the independent scene. And more importantly, to try to reestablish his public image amongst wrestling fans. And which is very evident when people call him Papa Triple H. And doing cringe shit like Reddit, sending him a fruit basket. It's like, my God. And then what happens? NXT becomes a super indie with better production, co-opting all these wrestlers to play keep away from other promotions. And then NXT's used as a attack dog against AEW. And then once AEW punched the shit out of them to where they had to tuck their tails between their legs and leave Wednesday nights, that was pretty much the beginning of the end. Dude, Triple H sucks as a booker. I'm tired of people giving him free passes and, trying to act like he's like the American version of Gato. Well, there's a better one in Tony Khan now anyways. Triple H sucks as a booker. He doesn't know how to establish baby faces. He turns people because when things don't work, he turns them so that way they can get the pop, and then the thing kind of fades out. See Dakota Kai. The aesthetics of NXT, it makes him look like he's a boomer, still relying on the past of Metallica, and Motorhead, which I do like Motorhead, but still, it's what? How does that correlate in 2021? But yeah, basically the changes are happening. It's gonna be a new look, a new brand, new lighting. The contract with Full Sail has ended apparently, so the Capitol Wrestling Center, or the former Performance Center, will be the new long-term home of NXT. And watching, well, not even watching, but looking at the clips from that place on the modern NXT aspect, good luck. Not to mention the talent cuts that have been happening since and will occur down the road. Yeah, NXT's cooked. NXT's dead. For me, it's been dead for years anyways, because I was seeing the cracks in the wall, while a lot of you guys were still distracted about my takeover and my Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Even back then, I was seeing the cracks form on the wall. It's just now that the water has gotten through those cracks so strong, there ain't no way you can tape them back in. You can't band-aid your way out of this one, Hunter. And look what happened. They saw you as bait. They saw you as somebody that they can use to deflect from the criticism and negativity of the brand as it stands right now. Hell, you didn't even do a media press call for this upcoming takeover. You do it for every other takeover, but for this one, you didn't even do it. So that just tells you also that you're hiding like a coward, because you know that people have kind of just saw your charade. They know really what you've been doing. The mask dropped. And even before that, when you did the last press call for NXT for a takeover, you sounded defeated, my guy. You sounded like a man that knew it was over back then. You sounded like somebody that dropped his mask and knew he didn't have to pretend to court the people that he was trying to pretend to like. He doesn't like you people. He's from the same cloth as the McMahons. I have no sympathy for Triple H getting NXT changed underneath from him. It's a power move. Politics behind the scenes are happening as we speak. You're seeing it right now. Maybe for a lot of younger fans, they don't know what politics are in this aspect, but that's what you're seeing. It's a power play between two sections of people that are trying to take charge, because Triple H probably knows at this point Vince ain't dying anytime soon. I think he betted on the fact that Vince was going to pass away or be resigned out of old age, and that he would get the keys to the kingdom. But Vince is still here, and he might live another 10 years. Like it's the damn royal family in England. Triple H probably knows that he ain't getting the keys because of Vince and people on his side that will make that so. Is it really that far-fetched to say that Triple H doesn't leave WWE somewhere down the road? I don't think it is. I've been sounding that alarm for quite some time. I think Triple H is on borrowed time here, folks. He might get a big severance pay. I mean, he might get a graceful exit because it's Triple H. I can't even imagine what may happen between him and Steph, but I could see him leaving. I could see him being fed up from all this bullshit from Vince and Bruce and Kevin and Nick Khan. And he might just, and he's not getting the keys anyways. So he might just say, fuck it, I'm gone, I'm out of here. This company is no longer welcoming of me, and I'm not gonna just stand here and be a dummy anymore. I think Triple H might leave by the end of this decade even, I think. I could be wrong by the timing, but I could see it. I'm being real for you. I'm really trying to instill that to a lot of people right here and right now, because it's not as far-fetched or crazy as you might think. That's all I'm saying. What do you think about the CM Punk ice cream wrappers being sold on eBay? Well, look, wrestling fans will sell and buy anything. You should know at this point wrestling fans and the way they will try to earn and sell money. So ice cream bar rappers, they're the least intimidating or shocking thing that I've ever seen wrestling fans sell. Let's put it that way. Yeah, those will be collector's items. So if you like that kind of stuff, buy it. I guess I don't know. Salamander Red. Over under Danielson debuts by choking out Justin Roberts with his own tie. I'm going to be honest with you. I think, if for anything else, that should be a BTE or Sammy Vlog exclusive skit. If Danielson ever comes to AEW, he should probably just choke Justin Roberts with a tie again. That would actually pop me. That would be actually funny. Tex Gohan, AEW the new NWA. I mean the big NWA of the 80s. I get why you're making the comparison, but the NWA was a governing body of territories. That's not really what AEW is. AEW is more so a industry leader of the Forbidden Door amongst other companies, probably alongside New Japan, but it's not a governing body, so it's not necessarily the same. But I get what you mean, though. I get what you mean. You're probably trying to say, is it a new territory era in wrestling? And you can kind of make the argument. I mean, GCW, if you talk to certain people, is the top indie in the world. Ring of Honor's coming back up. MLW's doing its own thing. Impact is basically tied to the hip with New Japan and AEW. PWG's back. A lot of wrestlers that have been either released or are actually being developed as great independent wrestlers are now in the scene, taking over the awful era of meme wrestlers and subpar workers. Thank God that era's coming to an end. I see what you mean, but I wouldn't necessarily call it the new NWA. But if you want to argue that there might be a territorial era coming in wrestling, I would agree with that more. Let's see here. Wyatt has officially signed with AEW. Breaking news. Is it? No, it's not. Let me check the Twitter. Let me check the Twitter line right here real quick. Okay. Okay, so the Wrestling Observer, I guess Dave, reported that Bray Wyatt is expected to sign with AEW. Well, okay, here's the thing. I think I said on the last newscast that I am willing to give Bray Wyatt a shot in AEW, but under no circumstances do I want to see a revamped, a remixed, or re-added version of the Fiend character whatsoever in AEW. That's zero buys. That's no buys. I have no interest in the Fiend or any type of remix of the Fiend in AEW. But the only reason that I'm willing to give Bray a shot is because I had the same words about Malachi Black 2 coming in. Going by his Twitch videos and his interviews after being cut from WWE, it kind of scared me a little bit. I thought, holy crap, all this cringe shit is going to come in, and people are going to think it's the greatest thing in the world, even though I think it's going to be more sports entertainment shit that doesn't really need to be added in AEW. But to AEW and Malachi's credit, they completely toned down that aspect. And now Malachi Black just comes out as an assassin killer, which is fine. I have no issues with that whatsoever. If you recall, Matt Hardy came in last year with the broken Matt Hardy. But at that point, the broken Matt Hardy character was basically just tired. It was redundant. and it really didn't fit with AEW. That's why Matt Hardy had to switch courses and become Big Money Matt, which is a better placement of Matt Hardy in AEW than the broken Matt Hardy character at this point. So I trust that AEW, and granted, I know that there's things like Abaddon, which I'm not a fan of at all, but I think I can trust AEW, especially more so now than ever, that they'll filter Bray Wyatt. They'll rein him in when he needs to be reined in, and not let him go too out of the ordinary with his ideas and creative. So I'm willing to give Bray a chance in that aspect, but again, like I said, I don't want to hear any arguments. I have no use for the Fiend or any remix of the Fiend at all. No, thank you. Salamander Red, do you think Japan will stop doing clap crowds since baseball in Japan is starting to be less since baseball in Japan is starting to be less strict with restrictions? Well, like I said, I thought the state of emergency, it's been extended now to mid-September, but I think this might be the last one. Now, granted, I'm just assuming. I don't know anything, and I could be very, very wrong, but when Japan called for the previous state of emergency, that was more so to secure the fact that they wanted the Olympics to go through as scheduled. That was really what it was, and they did. So what's telling me that now is that Japan might be a little more lenient to allow crowds to be more interactive with their sports or entertainment. So if it's happening in baseball, I can expect it to happen in wrestling sometime soon. But we'll see. We'll see. A lot of things can and will change going forward because nobody knows anything with a lot of this stuff going on with the pandemic. Let's see. Kenta posted on Twitter he wants Punk. Yeah, I know. Guys, Kenta's arguably one of my favorite wrestlers from Japan. I follow the man. I'm aware. Kaijira the Conqueror once again. Adam Cole, does he make the jump or does he stay where he's at? Yeah, that's the other one, isn't it? There's been like 3 questions in terms of free agency. We've got one answer with CM Punk. He's with AEW. We've got another one that seems to be answered, but we really don't know either yet, and that's with Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. And then there's Adam Cole. He's the third one. Now, apparently Cole's contract ended during the Great American Bash TV specials last month, but Cole, being a professional, decided to stay with NXT and extend it to at least take over this Sunday. Now, Adam Cole will face Kyle O'Reilly in the 2 out of 3 Falls match, and it's pretty much assumed that Kyle's winning it and that Adam Cole is doing the job, if you will, quote unquote. I think everybody's aware, I would assume, again, it's wrestling in 2021, everything's just out of whack right now, but I think everybody, I would assume, thinks Adam Cole will have his last NXT match this Sunday. I think we can safely assume that. Now, does that mean he gets called up to Raw or SmackDown? Or does he actually leave WWE and assumingly goes to AEW? Well, if you've been following my personal Twitter, as I've talked about this, something tells me he's staying. And the reason why I say that is because Adam Cole has arguably been the central figure of NXT for years. One of their biggest stars on that brand. He has all the leverage, he has all the capital in the world to negotiate the way he sees fit. But then you hear that Vince wanted to have a meeting with him on one of the SmackDowns as of recent. And I said it on the last newscast, if I was Adam Cole, I would have not gone to that meeting. For what? to do small talk? Hell no. You know what my whole ordeal is that about. I'm here to talk business. You give me the contract that I told you specifically I want with each and every perk met. And if I don't even get one perk met in that contract, I'm walking. What are you gonna do? Fire me and let me go? Fine, I'll go to New Japan. I'll go to AEW. I'll do Impact. I'll go anywhere. I'll do my Twitch streams and not lose any sight of anything. That's what I would have done if I was Adam Cole. I would have said, I'm not meeting anybody. I'm not meeting anybody. I'm not small talking with anybody until I have a contract that meets all of my demands. Because Cole deserves it. I'm not even an Adam Cole fan like that, and I'm telling you that Adam Cole was a central figure of NXT for many years. He deserves to make those demands. But he went. And if you know anybody that, is close to Vince, Vince knows how to talk people into signing. So, you figure he might resign. But then, I thought about it further these past 2 weeks. I see Britt Baker, his girlfriend, the current AEW Women's World Champion, get godlike reactions in Pittsburgh, where she's from, last week on Dynamite and especially on Rampage. Main eventing the debut episode of Rampage. And if that wasn't even enough, which I don't know how you could think that, then CM Punk debuts last night. And I tweeted something to the effect of, dude, look around you, my man. Look around you. The tides are shifting. A lot of things are changing. Vince McMahon is going to go with what he knows. Triple H, a guy that you look up to and is a friend of yours, isn't going to be running the rush shot of NXT like he once did. So I know people have this whole thing about, well, it's his dream to be a WWE superstar. It's his dream to main event WrestleMania. Fam, wake the fuck up. Sometimes dreams don't happen. That's life. For Adam Cole, personally, to me, I think he should jump. What I ultimately think he'll do is resign, but I ultimately think he should jump. And hell, it's not like he has a 30 to 90 day clause to wait. After Sunday, he's free. His contract or extension has run out. He can job on Sunday tomorrow to Kyle O'Reilly and pull Scott Hall on Wednesday and be at Dynamite. It could happen. But it's if Adam Cole wants it to happen. And Adam Cole apparently doesn't want to be unprofessional, but he also said that he has no plans of stopping his Twitch stream. So, and you know how WWE feels about all the third-party, contracts and all that outside of WWE if you're in the main roster. So, we'll see. I think I think for a lot of you, including myself, we'll get our answer on Sunday. But it'll be ultimately up to Adam Cole. We'll see. See here. Yeah, he asks again. How would you like to see Punk get used in AEW? Well, you got to make him a babyface. After that entrance, after that promo, he's got to be a babyface for a while. Him and Darby was the right call to do. I do agree with Brian Alvarez with what he said earlier this week, in the sense that you don't want somebody like Punk to feud with Darby Allin and beat him, which he should. Punk should beat Darby, because Darby will not be hurt, or he will not lose his aura or overness because he lost to CM Punk in Chicago in his return match on pay-per-view main eventing. That's different. But you don't want it to be a habit to where, okay, Punk beats Darby, which is fine, but then he goes into a feud with MJF where he might beat him there as well. Then he goes to a feud with Ricky Starks and might beat him there. Because then at that point, you're using Punk to beat a lot of young talent that were already established in AEW before you came there. And I don't think That's the right call. And I think AEW even, and I think Punk especially even that in that regard, they recognize that that's not the way to go about it. Punk essentially said he's willing to put people over, which, I mean, I wouldn't doubt. The way I would use him, though, I'd have him and Moxley feud immediately. I think after All Out, I think him and Moxley should feud for a while. And then maybe you have him and Kenny Omega down the road. And then, once you do Punk and Moxley, then you can go into Punk and MJF. That's what I would do. Use Punk's aura and make him a mega star like he is. And then help others. Well, not Moxley, he doesn't need it, but help others get over in the process. But do it in a way that makes sense and is consistent. Artists, here's a fun question. What's your favorite wrestler's theme? I guess you're asking what's my favorite wrestling theme. Man, I have a lot of them, dude. Let me see, which one's gonna name off here? Let's see here. Man, where would I start? Alright, well, I love Stone Cold's theme. The one that's the more known, famous one. I love The Undertaker's theme from the 90s, when it was more brooding. I mean, I heard it on Friday, apparently, but I do love the Brood theme. I do love that theme. What else? As a kid, I guess I liked Dean Malenko's theme from WCW as a kid. Man. Yeah, yeah, that's a question that I would have to really, sit down and think about. Maybe I'll do an in-depth answer maybe one day. But those are some things that I like from wrestlers and all that stuff. Oh my God! Come on, chat. Kaijira, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hurt are WWE after Punk's debut in AEW? I mean, WWE is still the #1 leader in sports entertainment or pro wrestling or whatever, but and they're making record profits and they're signing with all these brands and they're about to do a plus 400,000, 40,000 seated show with SummerSlam. So it's not like they're really hurting, but I do think Punk, in the way he came out and returned last night, definitely killed the SummerSlam buzz. I do think that. I mean, with the exception to John Cena, SummerSlam is just kind of a show. And who knows, it might be a good show, but it's just the buzz isn't there. So there's that. It is really weird that it's on a Saturday. I really don't know why. I guess we never got a specific answer, but yeah, that's weird. I don't know. Let's see. Do we have any more questions here? How petty do you think WWE is going to be? From Keith Thompson the second. Excuse me. I mean, they're petty. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that. They're just petty. They might get even more petty. They see this company called AEW stealing their buzz and their profit share, well, their market share even, and they're gonna get a little frisky. They already snitched to Domino's about AEW's excessive use of blood and violence. So I mean, they'll do whatever. It's the WWE mantra. Kajira, in your opinion, what caused the Fiend to fail in WWE, and what could have gone differently to make it good? I didn't initially hate the Fiend. People forget that. When Bray Wyatt came back with the Firefly Funhouse, which I did think was kind of hokey at first, but in terms of what they were trying to tell with the Bray Wyatt character, I finally understood what it meant, and I initially was intrigued. I liked where it could go, and then I guess you would have to go to the feud with Seth in 2019. And then the awful match they had at Hell in a Cell that year. In my fucking city of Sacramento, by the way. So that hurts double as much, but... Yeah, that was probably the beginning and the end for The Fiend, because that's when The Fiend started becoming this mythical, spooky character that doesn't sell, that does all this magic and all this shit, and it just came out straight from 1994 with WWF, and... It's like, it was just ridiculous at that point. Not to mention Goldberg beat him flat, so it's not like it was sort of world of difference. And yeah, that was probably the beginning and the end of the Fiend. What would have made it good, basically, you could have just, I don't know, because with that kind of character, maybe it was going to be in the way the WWE books. Maybe it was going to always be destined to fail, but I would have cut off the supernatural hokey shit. Make it somewhere where like the mask empowers him, rather than the spooky shit that makes him do all these things. But that's just me. So, alright. So Finn Balor left WWE. Where do you think he would go? I don't think Finn is leaving. He's 40 now. Not that age in 2021 in that regard matters, but. Finn, to me, is somebody that knows... He knows his spot in the company, and he's probably going to be done with it all once his contract comes up. Like, I don't see him doing a G1. Let's put it that way, in 2021. I don't see him in AEW either. I could be wrong. Prince Devitt might return one day, but... I just don't see it with Finn Balor anytime soon. I could be wrong, though. La Galeta, I hear in an interview that Takeshita, the first thing he wants is to get back to AEW ASAP. How would you use him in AEW? Well, first of all, shout out to my boy Takeshita, finally defeating Uncle Jun Akiyama to become the new KOD champion at Wrestle Peter Pan last night. Very good main event match, by the way. You guys should go check out that main event if you have the chance to do so. But Takeshita looked great with June. Really sold the fact that he's the guy that could finally usurp June, and he did. Set up him and Chris Brooks, in the future, I believe, next month for their next show. So good stuff for Takeshita. For him in AEW, I would like to see him come back. I think a guy like Takeshita is someone that has a lot of potential as a babyface. He's a guy that has the aesthetic look like a Ibushi does, like a Ino does. Also from last night, who bled buckets, by the way. Man. But I think Takeshita is very marketable, is what I'm getting at. And he's very talented. The dude's very good. I liked his outings he did at Dark and Elevation when he was here. So I think Takagi, I think he's ready to really get into this whole Cyber Fight AEW partnership. It's just that the pandemic has kind of slowed everything down. So I do think, I think when the timing is right, we'll see Takeshita back. And I think he'll really make a bigger impression when he comes back than he did at the time. So looking forward to that. Salamander Red, thoughts on how AEW handles black wrestlers? It feels like they've gotten better at scouting and pushing them. Look, I know there's a lot of race baiting contrarians that like to push this like ridiculous narrative that AEW is anti-black for some reason, or like they don't push or sign black wrestlers. Like, it's just a bunch of people that like to start shit without looking to the bigger picture. I'm a guy that's all about merit. I'm not a guy that tries to sign people to fit a quota, determining on who you are as a race or gender or a religion or what have you. I'm a guy that's all about the merit. If you are good, if not great, you deserve to be signed. And that's not to say that there aren't good to great black wrestlers out there. There very much are. Jonathan Gresham, Trish Adora, Lee Moriarty. You know, you saw Top Flight, they came in. You know, I see Calvin Tankman in MLW. There's a lot of good to great black wrestlers that if they were given the opportunity, they should be signed immediately. But it's not this narrative that because that they are somehow black that they don't get opportunities. Fam, Scorpio Sky was an inaugural AEW Tag Team Champion. Private Party in the second episode of Dynamite beat the Young Bucks and put them over when they didn't have to. It's just with people. Jade Cargill last night, you know what I mean? It's just people like to start problems and start trouble to push a narrative that they don't even necessarily believe in. So I just ignore those people. And this is me speaking as a black man myself. It's just we would rather our accomplishments be recognized for its merits than because of our skin color. And that's a lot of us. It's not the minority like you would think. Let's see. Solomon Red, would an anti-establishment CM Punk character even work in AEW? I don't know about an anti-establishment character because AEW is the counterculture to the WWE. It's the counterculture of the old tradition of wrestling as itself. In a lot of ways, you can argue CM Punk and the pipe bomb promo that he did was a small catalyst to other events that led to the creation and birth of AEW. You can make that case. So I don't know if him doing a anti-establishment character for an AEW would work. I do think him like facing a Cody Rhodes or an MJF, who are quote unquote more privileged than what his upbringing was, that might work a little bit better. But him going after Tony Khan and being anti-establishment to Tony Khan, it's like, dude, Tony Khan is a wrestling fan. Yes, he's a billionaire who's a businessman that is business savvy enough to know what he can balance with him being a fan and him being a businessman. And he runs a company, yeah, but that doesn't mean he's anti-establishment in that regard. He's a wrestling fan within his heart, and people love him. And he's the guy that tried to get Punk signed a year and a half ago. So it just wouldn't work in that regard. I don't think a true anti-establishment character like he did in WWE would work in AEW the way people think it would. Did you watch AAA Triple Mania and New Japan Resurgence? Yes, I did. Quick recap of them both real quick. Triple Mania, I thought it was pretty good. You know, I think a lot of people give this notion that AAA, because they had bad production and commentary qualities in years prior, that's all AAA is, but they don't keep track or even watch the promotion, so I don't really buy their take on that. But just some quick recaps. Look, Deanna Fabi, that match, I know people have their issues with it and all, but it's Lucha Libre in Mexico. It's a little different. There are heel referees in that, so I can see why it's annoying. But I didn't think that. I thought it was fine, but I didn't think it was great or even good, which I expected it to be. But Deanna's now the Reina champion, along with being the Impact Knockouts champion. NGD from CMLL made their debuts at the AAA Triple Mania event, attacking Mr. Iguana, who won the Battle Royal. That was a pretty big moment, too, by the way. We'll see what they do going forward. I guess they joined Sam Adonis and Blue Demon. But we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Lucha Brothers, Vikingo, Laredo Kid, Taurus and Brian Cage, that match, that triple threat tag match, fucking ruled. It was great. Omega and Andrade, Ric Flair making an appearance. So that was pretty cool. That was a cool moment for Triple H and Ric Flair himself, who just got released from WWE. Omega and Andrade, I thought it was good. I know a lot of people thought it wasn't, which I don't see why. I did not think it was great. I will say that I didn't think it was a outstanding or great match. That was a warranted 5-star match if you are into star ratings. But in terms of what they did, I thought it was good. I know the interference could have been a little excessive here and there, but I thought it was a good match. I thought it was easily Andrade's best match since leaving WWE. I don't know why people think they can compile it with his matches that he had with Matt Sydal and Laredo Kid. This match blew those two out of the water, so I don't want to hear that. It was pretty surreal to see Omega and Ric Flair do a stare down. But yeah, that's just basically a recap for Triple Mania there. And Resurgence from New Japan. I thought it was a good show. I will say, the first few minutes of Resurgence on my stream was dog shit. That video quality was bad. New Japan needs to fix that. Or it may have not been New Japan, because I guess New Japan World was fine, but the fight stream was bad. So fight. Get on your shit. Stop being lazy fucks that want to ask for money, but then you guys want to fix your streaming quality. It's 2021. But other than that, I thought Ishii and Moose tore the house down. Moose is legit now, so the cap can stop now about Moose not being a real good wrestler. He's good, if not great at times with the right opponent. Moxley and Nagata teaming up against the Good Brothers. Always good to see Nagata-san. It was whatever. I kind of did laugh at the fact that the Guerrillas of Destiny showed up to confront the Good Brothers and no one gave a shit. After all that Twitter talk and Twitter feuding and all that stuff, it's like kind of left like a wet fart, so, which is appropriate. Will Ospreay making his appearance, cutting that promo. I thought initially it was good, the promo he was cutting at the time, but then Will kept going on and on and on and on, and it got even more cringier by the minute, and the segment went longer than it needed to. I know some people thought it was a great promo. I did not. I thought it was fine at first, but then it just started to drag on, and it got really bad. They try to make Ospreay like this kind of shooter, CM Punk-esque, with his New Japan management right now in the title, and I just wasn't feeling it. Tanahashi and Archer main eventing. Loved it. Lance Archer is becoming one of my favorite talents to watch this year. He's just somebody that I like to, and I've always been a fan of Dallas Lance Hoyt. So it's not like I haven't been unaware of what he can do. But yeah, good match. Tanahashi being the first Japanese wrestler to win the U.S. title in the LA Coliseum. Good visual, good moment. And he's back in Japan now, getting ready for the G1, so anyone expecting him to be a part of All Out or anything like that, you can basically kill that. Even though my boy Suzuki's coming to the U.S. in September, so I'm just saying he's coming to New York 2 days before Arthur Ashe. I'm just putting it out there. Charles Roberts, my man. Hey, Hakeem, did you see the new Ruby Rose, new Titantron that she posted today? Ruby Rose? Do you mean Ruby Riott or Ruby Soho? I don't know what I don't know what you mean. Let's see here. Tex Gohan, wouldn't Punk have to win at least the majority of his matches to go into a world title feud, assuming that Omega still has the AEW title? Well, that was me assuming that Omega is going to lose the title to Hangman before Punk gets to Omega himself. You don't need the title for Punk and Omega to feud about who the best in the world is. It kind of speaks for itself. It kind of writes for itself. So yeah, I said Omega and Punk under the assumption that Hangman would be the world champion, not Omega. So, but yeah, Punk knows what he would have to do. It's not like it's anything new. He would have to win amongst the rankings to get a shot. That's how it works here in AEW. SummerSlam was moved because of the NFL. Okay, well, there you go. That makes sense. WWE doing the job to the NFL. Going to probably be hearing a lot of that in the fall, I'm assuming. But Let's see here. King Trey 500. Do you think AEW will finally introduce those 6-man titles? Do I think they'll introduce the trios titles? Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's definitely coming. It's not a secret that they've been doing trio matches as of late. I mean, they've been doing it all year, but really as of late, they've been really doing these 6-man tag matches. And they've got enough of a deep tag team division to where a trios division can work as well. If I am AEW, I would probably announce it at All Out. Maybe Arthur Ashe. I'd announce it soon is what I'm getting at. And listen, I'm a guy that doesn't want any more titles added into AEW. I know a lot of people are saying, well, let's get a Cruiserweight title. Let's get a Hardcore title. Let's get Women Tag Team titles. No. No to all of that. But the one title I would allow that gets added into the championship list would be the trio titles. Because the tag team division is so deep that it can warrant it. For sure. So, yeah. It's coming. And I think people are aware. They know it's coming. It's just a matter of the timing, when and where. That's all it is. Hey Hakeem, two-tone early asked, hey Hakeem, what are your thoughts on Show turning on Yo and the breaking up of Roppongi 3K? I mean, for that moment it was shocking, but I guess it really wasn't. Yo's been hurt for a long while. And they probably see Show as somebody they want to push going forward. If you saw him in the junior heavyweight matches that they were doing. Well, look, Roppongi 3K was pretty much done anyways. I mean, I think they did enough as much as they could do with them. So, we'll see. I think Show... I could see... I could see Show lining up with Suzuki-gun. Even though Suzuki-gun's kind of like... You know, their thing or whatever. It's kind of like whatever at this point, but... yeah. But I do see a lot of big things for Show going forward, though. That's pretty much the point of why they did that. So, and hey, look, I'm not against it. New Japan needs something. It's been a pretty shitty, I mean, I don't want to say shitty year, but it's been a pretty underwhelming year for New Japan. I know the pandemic has snake bitten them a lot of times this year and last year. I understand that. That does not take, and it's not even really the pandemic for me. It's just a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing from New Japan. I'm just really not that interested. I think to me, speaking for myself, I think Noah has been the best Japanese promotion of the year. To me. I'm way more engaged. I'm way more interested in what they're doing than with New Japan. And that's even with Shingo winning the world title, the IWGP Heavyweight title, which I loved. But, you know, that's just one self-conflicting moment. Moose hate is so forced. It really is, man. And I get it. He has a past, and I get all that. But he hasn't done it since. He's paid his debt to society. Just shut up. You're forcing the hate at this point. He's legit now. It's not Ring of Honor Moose we're talking about anymore. Like, kill that. La Gletta, would you sign Pete Dunne for AEW? I think this was asked to me last newscast. I really don't care. I really have no interest in Pete Dunne, honestly, in AEW. I realize that he's a great wrestler. He's a great brawler. He can do a lot of great things in the ring, but dude's dull as shit, man. This whole bruiserweight shit, it's dull. And I think AEW has enough technical to great technical wrestlers that they don't need a Pete Dunne necessarily. You just saw Daniel Garcia wrestle Moxley at Rampage, and then he wrestled Matt Sydal the previous night on Elevation, which I do think Daniel Garcia at this point probably is signed. I think Tony said during that scrub with Punk that he's on a agreement with AEW, and that going forward they hope that they'll sign him officially. But they basically got him. That's what I'm getting at. But Besides, I don't think Pete Dunne's going to leave anyways. I think Pete Dunne is one of these guys, especially during the early parts of WWE's co-opting of the British Indies, that he's a guy that is a mark for the company, and anyone that tried to criticize the obvious attempt of what they were doing to the UK Indies at the time, he tried to shit on them. He tried to say that there's nothing to worry about. It's going to make the independent scene in the UK stronger. But look at this in 2021. Rev Pro is the only one that I can recall that has any traction, and they're the ones that didn't join the Empire. So how funny is that? That now the UK independent scene that was thriving for a minute is basically a wasteland. And if you're from the UK in the chat, you can pretty much confirm that I'm not really lying. Jacob Avedana, I always stumble when I say it, but are you a fan of women's wrestling? If you are, what type of outfit that you would prefer to wear, the modern look or the classic bathing suit look? I like the latter. Well, first, yes, I am a fan of women's wrestling. I'm not one of, but let me be clear though, I'm not one of these advocates, quote unquote, or what do you want to call it, enthusiasts that all they talk about is wrestling, a women's wrestling, or that it's women's wrestling or wrestling sucks, or they try to ham-fist women's wrestling everywhere where it's not natural, like certain subpar women wrestlers that tried to force PWG to book into a women's match there even though they suck. Anyways, but yes, I'm a fan of it. Either look, it doesn't really matter. Either look is fine to me. It doesn't really matter. I didn't care back then, and I don't really care now. It's more so you're just really good at what you do as a worker. And if you are good, you can pretty much wear whatever outfit you want, in my opinion. But, you know, I have other ways to get my jollies off, you know? You know, like being with a woman. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't really need it like that. Let's see. Noah Supremacy. Damn right. I am a Noah Chad. People forget that, you know, I start the reason why I found Puro Japanese wrestling, I found it because of Noah. I was watching Ishimori, and then Marufuji back then, and Kenta, obviously, Ricky Marvin, you know, Suzuki Gun. I was watching all of that, you know, obviously Misawa and Kobashi. And the answers are here. Who are your three greatest world heavyweight champions from Noah? Well, for my personal opinion, I would have to go Kenta, Marufuji, and Misawa. Although Morishima's close. And Kobashi, too. Damn. You know, that GHC title, man. What a great legacy, honestly. Fluke Dog, are you hyped for the new season of The Dark Side of the Ring? For example, the steroids trial and Plane Ride from Hell. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, Dark Side of the Ring tend to provide some interesting topics and episodes. Some work, some don't. But, yeah, I'm interested to see how they handle the steroids trial, because WWE apparently is going to be developing a series about the steroid trial. I'm sure that will not be biased and propagandized from Kingdom Come. I'm sure of that. Plane Ride from Hell. That might be interesting, but I've kind of gotten past that as well. So I don't know about all that. I know that, who else is in there? Canyon. Chris Canyon. I'm looking forward to that episode with a lot of things that's been said about him. Yeah. We'll see. When do you think Cyber Agent will declare war on Bushiroad? I don't see it anytime soon. I do think the two, you know, aren't necessarily trading Christmas cards or anything, but I think they're more so focusing on their brands, and they're focusing on how they can increase their value and their profits amongst their wrestling brands. So we'll see. My last question from Kajira: despite the stupid stuff she said in the past, thoughts on Shouty Blackheart as a wrestler? I mean, I don't particularly find her all that good. If you want me to be frank, I mean, before WWE, because I know she was in Hood Slam here nearby in California and all that. You know, I find Shotzi to be someone that she has a gimmick that works in terms of marketing herself and selling a lot of merchandise and earning a lot of money and, you know, having a character that can be set in stone for her to really grasp into because it's hers. So I commend her for that. But as an actual in-ring worker, I don't see anything special. I don't think she's all that good. I don't even think she's really even average. I think she's below average. Now, I guess you can say in NXT and WWE she's improved slightly, but I just don't see it with her. I see the marketing appeal of a Shotzi Blackheart, which is why she's on the main roster above others that are better than her. But yeah, I never found Shotzi to be a great in-ring worker or even a good in-ring worker. I just never saw it like that. And you know, and then, you know, the thing she said, you know, I get it. She's joking and fucking around. I get all that. But it's only funny when one side is doing that, but then if the other side does it, it's not funny anymore. It's just now being petty or bitter, you know. So, you know, Jericho fell off that cage, and it's like people thought because of the padding that made it seem obvious with the production that it wasn't a dangerous fall, but he fell off the cage and hurt his fucking elbow. So, I will say though, Jericho trying to threaten her to be blackmailed or blackballed, that was bullshit though. Jericho kind of gets emotional when shit like that happens, but yeah, there you go. All right, is that all for the questions, or is I'm about ready to I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what, because I think SummerSlam is probably coming up in a few minutes. I'll give you guys 5 more minutes to ask any more final questions that you might have for me. If you guys have any more questions, put it in the chat. You guys got 5 minutes, and then we will close it. We will basically end this newscast before SummerSlam begins. So get your final questions in as I look around the Twitterverse. A lot of people are talking about Bray Wyatt potentially going to AEW. I hope they scale him back, because when you let Bray Wyatt get too much into the creative side, it can tend to be a very bad experience, as we all know. Let's see here. Do you think SummerSlam will suck? Well, I mean, let's predict the card. I might as well give you predictions while I'm here. We've got Cena and Reigns for the Universal title. I laughed my ass off that they added the stipulation that if Roman loses, he'll leave WWE as a way to combat the Punk return. It's like, oh my god. How desperate, how pathetic you have to be to think we give a fuck if Roman leaves or goes if he loses the title minutes before Punk returns. As if we gave a fuck. That lasted 5 minutes, and then when Punk came in, boom, no one gives a shit. I bet you people don't even know, still, that is that stipulation. Of course Roman's winning. He has to win. He has to beat Cena and retain the title in dominating fashion, by the way. He's the guy. Cena's just coming back here to help the company for a while he's taking a break from the Suicide Squad. So, but yeah, Roman's winning that. And then Goldberg and Lashley for the WWE title. Sorry, folks. Goldberg's winning that one, too. I could be proven wrong, and Lashley might retain it. But I'm thinking Goldberg's coming back because those Raw ratings are looking ghastly. Football season is coming. AEW Dynamite has been inching towards their demographic heels. So they might want to make the switch to Goldberg to sustain at least some stability with those ratings. So I could see a title change there. Which, I mean, you already know what it is. Sasha and Bianca. Do we even know if that match is happening? There's been a lot of speculation that certain things have happened to where that match might not even happen tonight. But if it does, expect Bianca to win. She's the new girl. She's the new it girl for WWE. They're the one they're pushing heavily a lot to be one of the future stars of their company. So she's gonna win it, which is fine. I like their match at WrestleMania, so I'm looking forward to their match here tonight. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte, and Nikki Ash. Oh my lord, what a shit show this feud has been, from what I've seen. You can't honestly expect Nikki Ash to retain her, right? You really can't expect that. I can see Charlotte. I can see Charlotte winning it. I think WWE's mantra was that they didn't want. Well, but then Rhea lost to Charlotte anyways. Yeah, I'm just gonna go Charlotte. Fuck it, I'm gonna go Charlotte. Probably has a way to keep her in the company in case she feels any froggy about leaving, which I don't think it would be the case. And what other match that we have? Like, what other matches? Like, Drew and Jinder, I don't care. Drew will win. Alexa Bliss and Eva Marie. Fuck, man. What the fuck? Man. Yeah, you can tell I don't give a fuck about this card. I mean, I'm going to watch it because I want to see what happens, but I don't care about this card. I really don't. After last night, how could you? So, do you think Becky will help Seth in the match against Edge? I hope not. She's their most over woman in the company. Some might argue Sasha, but let's be honest, there's Becky. And I like Sasha to a point, but yeah, bring back the popular babyface Becky Lynch and then turn her heel. For what reason, I do not know. But then according to the company, it's like, they'll do it if they want to. They don't care. They don't care that you care. Isn't Goldberg winning putting the final nail in the coffin? Not really, but it's just more of an indictment that the company no longer cares about what the people want. And if they do care, they'll throw them a bone so that way they can fool people into thinking that they're changing and then they never change. So, but I mean, yeah, people are going to be mad that Goldberg wins, but so what? They don't care. And they don't care that you're mad. There's too many great wrestling out there now where There's too much great wrestling out there now where I can no longer be shocked or mad about the WWE and what they do in terms of their current booking. I don't care anymore. I have no attachment to what they do now. It's like, whatever. It's just whatever. Will Corbin try to cash in Big E's Money in the Bank? Well, he can't. I mean, I know he stole the briefcase, but the contract does state it's for Big E, so he can't cash it in. But again, this is the WWE in 2021, and they are that retarded, so they might just do something like that just to swerve the fans that didn't expect it. So, who knows? Who will win at TakeOver, Joe or Cross? A lot of you want Joe. I think it's going to be Cross. Yes, they fucked up Cross since he has been on Raw. They clearly are using this to send a message to the NXT brand that they are developmental and they are no longer in canon with Raw and SmackDown, and especially a message to Triple H. But he is still the NXT champion. Joe is basically there to put him over. And hopefully Joe does the due diligence to put him over well, but that's all that's going to be happening there. Cross is going to be the new face of the new NXT to come, and a lot of you people are just going to either have to deal with it or stop watching it finally. It's up to you at this point. I think Corbin needs to go somewhere else. No, he doesn't. Corbin is exactly the type of guy that they want in the WWE, and he's perfectly fine being at whatever spot he wants to be in. So, yeah, that's not happening. There is going to be no Corbin in G1 or N1 victory. Let's put it that way. Yeah, this card is like not even below average. It's like below 0. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you bring back all these former stars and you're not able to build new stars, and the feuds aren't good to where you're not there for the story, but you're there because it's at SummerSlam. That's what happens. Goldberg, then Big E cash in night after. I don't see that either. So, who the fuck knows? Alright. That'll do it for the Newscast. The first episode of Shootin The Shit. This is fun. I liked answering all of your questions. You guys had some good questions. We'll do this more often, hopefully, in the near future. I'll let you guys know in advance compared to tonight. But, yeah, that was pretty good. In terms of ACW stuff, I am still working on High Voltage and other episodes after that, so please be patient. I know I've been gone for a long while. I want to go back doing ACW stuff, but just getting certain things situated and doing ACW stuff in between, it's kind of hard, but I will do my utmost best to get ACW back on track. So all I ask is for you to be patient with me. That's all I'm asking. And you'll be ultimately rewarded. Okay? Who's the guy that told you the quote about, if you are patient enough, you will be ultimately rewarded? This guy. So don't worry about it. You'll be rewarded for all your waiting. But yeah, so that'll be it. SummerSlam's in about 10 minutes. We will see what this company will do with that show and going forward. But that'll be it. I will see you guys later. Follow me on my personal Twitter at Keem Wins Again. Keem Wins Again on Twitter. And support the Newscast. Facebook.com / the Keemcast. And if you would like to send me some money, streamups.com / the AnimeCW. Much would be appreciated. Until then, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the rest of your day, and until then, as always, stay cool. Stay cool. Later, y'all.